Thank you for attending the meeting. Today we are going to discuss each Resident Evil game and rate them on a tier list.
Are we talking every Resident Evil game or just the mainline titles?
Let's see how far we get with the main ones and go from there.
Just put Resident Evil 4 on S tier and everything else on the bottom and call it a night.
That's not how tier lists work, Donald.
Rigged.
Okay, let's talk about the OG Resident Evil. I'm thinking A tier.
The gameplay is pretty rough, but since it spawned a franchise, I would agree with that.
Are you guys kidding? Have you heard the voice acting in that game? It's worse than Joe's speeches. Jill, don't go through that door.
I agree with Donald. The game held your hand with Barry taking care of everything for you.
If you wanted the game to be harder, you could have played as Chris.
There is more than one character you can play as?
Yes, and the story changed a little bit as well.
Well then.
I'm not hearing any objections, so I'm putting it at A tier. Now for the remake of Resident Evil 1.
Easily S tier. That game is a standard for how remakes should be done.
Yeah, maybe a standard for back then. That was back in 2001.
Most remakes since then have barely provided the thrill that RE1 remake did.
Joe, the only thrill you get is from sleeping. I say B tier.
There's no way I'm putting this above or below the OG Resident Evil, so it's going on A tier.
Resident Evil 2 was one of the best sequels. Easy A tier.
I could agree with that.
It was better than the original, in my opinion.
We all have our bad takes. Anyways, let's move on to the remake.
Now this is one of the best remakes to ever come out.
Yeah, it was all right, I guess. Let's just put it at C tier and move along.
Are you out of your damn mind? This game is easily S tier.
It was all right.
Donald, are you one of those people that call themselves a Resident Evil fan when they only like the fourth one?
It's not my fault all the old ones have clunky-ass tank controls.
I agree that it's S tier.
Same. They made Chief Irons into a real piece of shit.
Okay, moving on. All right, now on to Resident Evil 3.
Nemesis was a great enemy, but I think the game is B tier. It felt like an expansion with revisiting old locations from the second game.
I think the game is A tier.
Jesus Christ, guys, not every game can be A tier.
Me and Donald agree on something for once. Let's get on with it.
Let me guess, guys, A tier?
No, this remake was a major letdown.
Yeah, it was missing like half the original game. The game's C tier.
This game is B tier. Let me be clear, no one would be bitching about this game if it wasn't a remake. Everything in this game was solid.
It was short.
So was the original Resident Evil 3. What's your point?
I agree with C tier. Get rid of your rose-colored glasses, Obama.
Fine, we will put it in C tier.
Resident Evil 4 is the best game ever, S tier.
Yes, we know how you feel about it, Donald.
I mean, there is no arguing with it.
True, let's move on.
Now wait a minute. The castle goes on for like 2 years, and what about the agonizing island section?
No one cares, George.
All right, the rest of the games don't matter. We are done here.
Come on, man. There are other games that were good.
Wrong.
I actually enjoyed Resident Evil 5. It was a fun co-op experience.
It was all right, but I'm thinking C tier. Wesker died like a little bitch in a volcano.
Come on, man. It was a great game.
I said it was all right.
But I thought we were partners.
Jesus Christ, fine, I will say B tier.
Is there anything that really needs to be said about this game?
D tier.
Honestly, it was a fun game. It just didn't feel like Resident Evil.
It was hardly fun. It was a bad action game, and it was certainly a bad survival horror game.
Each campaign felt unique.
Leon's campaign, maybe. Otherwise, it was just either Chris punching someone in the head or Jake punching someone in the head.
Speaking of Jake, him being Wesker's son is a joke. Does anyone even want to think of the idea that Wesker got it on with some...
Yeah, let's go ahead and not think about that. Let's settle for C tier.
C tier? Stop the steal?
Okay, fine, D tier.
All right, now to essentially the soft reboot of the series.
I thought it was pretty good. It had decent scares and had a Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel toward the beginning.
I wasn't really a fan of the first-person perspective.
It kind of fell apart at the end, in my opinion. Also, what was that excuse of an abomination that was Chris Redfield?
More like Rhys Chedfield.
I'm fine with leaving it at A tier.
We can circle back onto that later.
Now for the latest main title.
I actually think Village was better than Resident Evil 4.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
No, listen for 5 seconds. It had the same vibe and atmosphere, but better gameplay. It built off everything that was great about Resident Evil 4.
Also, Lady Beneviento's house was scary as hell. I don't have dolls in my bedroom anymore because of it.
Wait, what?
I say S tier.
I agree.
I also agree.
Stop the steal.
Didn't we forget about Resident Evil Code Veronica? That was essentially a main title.
Well, you can blame Sony for that one since they threw a hissy fit when they wanted to make it officially Resident Evil 3 for the Dreamcast.
Speaking of hissy fits, I could fucking kill for a nap right now.
All right, guys, we finally have it settled. Until next time.